Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for a very special webinar. Today, we are going to be talking with Marketplace.city. Basically, the conversation today is going to be around how Marketplace built a smarter outbound motion for B2G growth. So, first things first, I do want to introduce our panelists for today. We have our very own Jon Elhardt, CEO and founder for Dendro. And we have a very special guest, which we are very happy to have here today, Chris Foreman, CEO and founder of Marketplace.city. So without further ado, I'll pass the mic over to our guests and our speakers to introduce themselves, maybe give some background. And yeah, thank you for being here.
All right. Thanks so much, Hector. Appreciate the intro. Like Hector said, my name is Jon Elhardt. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders at Tendril. And we really specialize in, sales acceleration services and technologies, helping our customers go to market. And we've found we're exceptionally successful with customers in the public sector, calling into schools, municipalities, ed tech, gov tech. This is where we see a lot of our success with our platform and our services that support that. So we thought, why don't we have one of our longest term customers, Marketplace.city, and their CEO, Chris Foreman, join us for the webinar. So I'm going to pass it over to Chris and let him introduce himself in Marketplace and tell us a little bit about why he decided to go with Tendril.
Yep. Thanks, Jon, for having me. And my name's Chris Foreman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Marketplace.city. We're a 9-year-old company that's based in Chicago that primarily serves the U.S. local government marketplace. We provide a sort of market research tool and vendor intelligence platform to help local governments better understand potential vendors and their backgrounds, their experience, their contracts, and the pricing of their products, and then to sort of compare and contrast those vendors against each other to get sort of the right vendor at the right price. And we've been serving this market, as I mentioned, for 9 years, and have been using Tendril for almost 5 of those years, I want to say. So it's been a great partnership, and we've used the service in a number of different ways, both from using the product itself and the technology to also extending and using some of the additional add-on services and staff augmentation as well.
All right. Well, thanks so much for that introduction, Chris. So the way that we're going to run the webinar today is we're going to go through 5 quick questions and have a nice conversation. If anybody on the call wants to jump in and ask a question or get some clarity on any of the points that we're bringing up, feel free to jump in and raise your hand, and we can entertain that. So without further ado, Hector, let's go to the first question of the webinar. All right, Chris. First question is about complexity in the GovTech space. Marketplace.city operates in a space where trust matters a lot. What makes Outbound different when your audience includes local governments and public sector decision makers?
Yeah, I think trust matters a lot. I mean, in our market, and I'm sure trust matters a lot in a lot of different markets. Obviously, when we're calling in to the government, that often the government has to answer the phone. Like they don't really have a choice. They can't just send you to voicemail. We're typically not calling people's cell phones. We're typically calling sort of main lines or general lines at City Hall or Town Hall or the county building, what have you. We don't have like someone's direct line. And so you're talking to people who are experienced gatekeepers and people who have been doing this a long time, and they hold dear the time and the attention of the people that they work for, and whether it be a senior executive or an elected official or someone like that. And so they are masters at deflecting people that they don't find credible, that they don't find trustworthy. And so you really have to build that credibility and establish that trust at the outset, and so that they will take your information and share it with the actual buyer, or pass you through to that person so you can actually talk to the decision maker.
So when we were talking earlier before the webinar, when we were doing some prep, there was a story that you told me about one of the services that you're using that we call HubMX at Tendril. And
Mhm.
HubMX is our nearshore staffing service. We staff software engineers or sales talent, tech support, um, digital designers, a lot of different things for our customers, depending on the need. Um, one of the services with HubMX when it comes to the sales staffing is we look for neutral accent nearshore resources to support our clients in their go-to-market strategy. So, Chris, I remember you mentioned something about the type of talent that we're providing for you in those scenarios, and some of the different things that they do to build trust. You know, um, Maybe calling when they said they're going to call. When somebody says send me some information, they do it and they customize it so it's unique to the prospect. But do you have anything like that you can sort of elaborate on?
Yeah, well, I'm sure everybody can sort of think about an experience where they get a call from a number they don't recognize, and oftentimes they ignore that call. But if they take that call, then the person on the other line, is may have a very thick accent, and maybe like using phrases or words that are not sort of native to like your region or even your country, and you become immediately sort of skeptical that this is some call center somewhere of somebody trying to sell you something, or somebody that's going to take forever to get accomplished what you need to get accomplished. And frankly, I've been amazed time and time again how Tendrils network of resources are not only are they um, sort of privy to like U.S. culture and current events and the weather, or whatever it is, but that yeah, that many of them have actually lived in the United States from one time or another, and are on the same time zone, oftentimes the same time zone or within a couple hours of the same time zone, and it just really it disarms the person on the other side, where you can you're not trying to necessarily deceive them or what have you, but they make a connection much faster because they much more understanding of that person's environment, and then the fact that they often have a clean, very light accent, if any, that sort of helps build that trust like we talked about before.
Mhm. Yeah, we get a lot of feedback around that, especially the U.S. time zones is important to a lot of our customers. The neutral accents, I get that feedback a lot, that it surprises folks the access that we have to the talent that we do. And we've got a pipeline of candidates. We're always interviewing people. We've got a career path for our internal employees so that we can, depending on their skill sets or their experience or their desire, we can take them down different paths and continue their journey with Tendril, helping our clients.
Yeah.
So,
And yeah, I mean,
mhm,
even like some of the resources we had, they grew up an hour north of our office, or like they graduated from the high school of one of our biggest customers, and they like
mhm,
they can name the streets, and they can name the towns and the high school mascots, and they've
mhm,
got like a familiarity with with this space that you just don't find, is very, very rare, if not doesn't exist in the kind of near shore, offshore, type of environment. So
mhm. Localize it. Love it.
yeah.
All right, Hector, let's move on to the next question. All right, question number two is about what were the biggest challenges in your sales development or outreach process prior to working with Tendril?
Yeah, I would say it's sort of an extension of what I mentioned before, that because local governments often they have a mandate to answer the phone, like they have to have a live person on the other line. We're not calling 911, but we are often calling the city hall or town halls, and they are answering the calls. But it's very difficult to get through to the right person. That oftentimes, not only are the decision makers difficult to reach, but they the decisions to purchase anything are made by committee. And so we're often having to call like multiple departments to get people on board with what we're working on, and having them share information with each other and keep that message consistent, and to be sort of persistent in how we're following up. And so I think that Tendril has helped us to, not only, get through the multiple layers of people that we have to talk to, but to also pivot to, other departments and be able to even speak, intelligently about our product, in order to establish that trust and gain that credibility, and get through to the person we want to talk to. And then, to set up that conversation so that when our rep comes in and, our rep starts to, into their pitch or into their call, it's very seamless, So I think that is one of the biggest things. And, from a metric standpoint, we went from, like a rep only being able to make, say, 30 calls an hour, where if it's them doing their own outbounding, often, even if they're not even like leaving voicemails, or they're just leaving a quick voicemail and on to the next one, that maybe you could do 30 calls. But with Tendril, we're able to push that number up to, north of 150 calls that get made in an hour, to, 180 calls that get made in an hour, where instead of having, 30 calls, maybe one meaningful conversation with somebody, in an hour, that now you're getting 150, 180 calls and maybe 4 to 5 meaningful conversations with people in that same hour's time. So the ROI is almost immediate, when you're thinking of in those terms of connections.
That's incredible to hear. Yeah, the product specifically that Chris is talking about is called Tendril Connect, and it's our agent-assisted dialing platform. The way it works is we use nearshore agents who navigate through a list that our customers provide. Since they're bilingual, they navigate phone trees, they leave pre-recorded voicemails, and they actually speak to receptionists and ask to be transferred. When we get the intended prospect on the line, though, we click a button and that live conversation is transferred in real time to the waiting salesperson, in this case at Marketplace. Using this technology, since we have 4 agents for every one salesperson, we can 4x the volume and hit those numbers, like Chris said, 150 in an hour. So Chris, one of the other, I guess, benefits of this tool is the navigating of the phone trees. This is unique to, I mean, it used to be everybody, I think, but it's unique to probably public sector, such as schools and state and local government, healthcare sometimes. But have you seen this be any help to try to like penetrate some of these entities and try to get conversations?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I think you talk to a lot of people who are willing to be spoken to, we'll say, like just willing to chat, or like people that are like tire kickers, that seemingly have the time to listen to a pitch. And, you have to then move beyond just getting that conversation to actually being able to qualify. And that requires a little bit more knowledge of the product and the industry. And I think that's where some of the staff log services of actually having resources that Tendril provides us, that we can train, that are with us, consistently, full time, like being able to train them and have them then just not only have the initial conversation, but follow that conversation into actually setting up a meeting. And, we've really, pushed the capabilities of the service and the resources to not only move beyond, the initial conversation, but moving into a demo, and then delivering that demo and demonstrating the product, and then even more so moving into a sales process and actually closing a sale. So
Yeah.
we've had Tendril reps close actual sales for us remotely, with real actual, paying customers. And to us, that was nirvana. It's like, well, this is fantastic, right? We can, have these folks that were, can navigate and use the technology, can navigate the phone trees, can get through, actually develop pipeline and close deals themselves. So that was something we're looking to repeat quite a bit.
Yeah, I love hearing that as well, because a lot of our customers are using our SDR services where, we're doing, it's a specialized role in lead generation, a lot of cold calls, a lot of appointment setting. But when I hear the success that you have with like a full sales cycle, where we're taking it from start to finish, resulting in a closed deal and revenue for Marketplace, that's exactly what we seek to do. So,
Yep.
Hector, let's go to the next question. All right, from data to conversations, how important was data quality in improving your outreach, and what changed once your team had better account and contact intelligence?
Well, data is everything now. I mean, we could waste a lot of time calling expired numbers or what's also I think is interesting is we serve a market, the U.S. local government marketplace, where there's a stigma or an idea that like government bureaucrats sort of get into their jobs and are there for their entire careers, their whole lives, that they're just kind of resting on their laurels and just living out their careers in a government job. But the truth is that our industry actually turns, at least for our contact base, turns over every 3 to 5 years. And so we're having to sort of update the quality of our data and our contacts to the tune of like 20 to 30% of our database every year. And I think having access to Tendril to assist with updating those, that kind of simple contact information is great. But we've also used the Tendril data miners for other tasks as well, that we used in business development purposes. So where we're going out and aggregating data from publicly available internet sources, and then putting it together as intelligence that we're sharing with prospects. That Tendril sort of assisted in gathering that data, and then building the workflows to get that into our business development motions and into our marketing content as well. So I could speak to a specific client and partner that was able to close based on the data mining that Tendril had done about that client.
Mhm.
Probably a story for another webinar, but we established a partnership with an organization that sort of is for the entire government IT folks for the entire state of California, based on a rich data set that we were able to capture because we had the Tendril data miners. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I love hearing that. And the product specifically that Chris is talking about, we call Tendril Enrich, where we have a tech-enabled team of data miners that sometimes they'll build a prospect list for our customers. We can human verify it before you call it or email it, so that the emails are getting delivered, the calls are going through. Or in the example that Chris gave, and this kind of points to what I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the call. A lot of our customers see the resources that we have and build a custom solution that fits their unique business requirements, right? That's a different type of solution than off the shelf, forcing you to use our products or services in one way because, or inflexibility. We love projects like this. We love to customize the solution and, do whatever we can with the resources that we have to make our customers successful. Hector, with that, why don't we go to question number 4, rather? Okay. The extension of the team. How did the nearshore support help Marketplace.city add capacity while keeping the team focused on higher priority growth initiatives?
Yeah, well, I think that we already talked about how we have Tendril folks that are serving like different roles here, but I think also the fact that they're able to um, themselves sort of mature and grow into these roles. So it's almost like we were promoting from within. So we felt that these members of our team, they were fully dedicated to us. They were members, full on members of our company, right? Even though they were Tendril resources, we treated them like they were one of ours. And to see someone go from being a very junior resource, which as you mentioned, being an SDR and doing outbound sales, it's a grind, right? Or doing outbound, lead gen. It's a real grind. I think that only a very unique type of person can do that longer than like 6 months or a year. Like it takes a different type of person to be able to do that as a career. Those are very special people you don't find very often. For the most part, people who are doing that are looking to mature and grow into other roles.
Mm-hmm.
And if Tendril didn't have that flexibility, we probably would have lost them
Mm-hmm.
because they would have wanted to grow into being an account manager or sales rep or customer service or some other role. And if Tendril didn't have the flexibility to offer up their continued service to us and allow us to use them as an account executive, then we would have lost them to another job. So we're able to retain that institutional knowledge that they've built up as an SDR for us. And that helps us to scale other parts of our team as we're growing without having
Mm-hmm.
to retrain that and without having to, show people, for the first time that, they've learned it. They already know the product. They know the industry, and now they're moving into new roles. And then now I have, some of our Tendril resources that have been here for a long time even move into leadership type roles to where
Mm-hmm.
now they're helping to do reporting, and they're training other people, and they're coaching other people, and they're running sort of revenue operations reports about how the entire team is performing, whether it's a Tendril person or a direct employee. We're reporting across the whole thing, and so we'll be able to see that maturity and that be able to add capacity as we're growing.
Excellent. And so one of the things that jumps out to me here is like a lot of our customers come to us and they're maybe startups, where there's a lot of founder-led sales that are taking place. How has having a closing quota carrying um, tendril resource on the team given you more capacity to maybe focus on more strategic, higher value tasks?
Well, it's great. I mean, anytime you can find a salesperson who's going to be independent and be able to close on their own, I think that's everybody's goal, especially someone
Mhm.
like myself who's doing a lot of founder selling. So whether you can find that person who's domestic or someone who is a contractor or nearshore, it's great. Any way that you find it. Sometimes you feel bad because like they don't have the ability to necessarily travel and meet people in person. So
Mhm.
it's even that much more impressive because we are such a sort of oftentimes sort of in person person to person type of an industry. It's even harder. They're hamstrung by the fact that they're remote or entirely phone based. But I think there obviously certain events of the last 5 years have really changed that, where being on a screen and being in a Zoom call is completely acceptable for people, and that you could still sort of establish that credibility and that trust even though you are remote. And I think that we've been able to sort of capitalize on the industry's acceptance of that medium. Whereas, prior to 2020, you would rarely expect that people were going to be on a Zoom call, cameras on, everybody unmuted at the same time. It was very impersonal, and it made it very difficult for people to connect. And I feel like Tendril has benefited from those changes, but we have as a result as well that the industry has really accepted this. But then it still falls back to having the quality of the people and the people that are sort of consistently committed to the job. And I'll say something else is like it's really good for us to know that um, Tendril is also coaching and training people behind the scenes when we're not necessarily doing it ourselves. So we might train on product and our own process and our own industry, but the Tendril is actually investing in training the resources on how to be a great SDR or how to be a great customer service rep. They're doing like team building activities, behind the scenes, where their resources are on site. And that's really helpful to see that because people could feel kind of left out if they're not, there in person with our own team, that their engagement with us internally is always just remote. And it's nice to have a partner in Tendril that is sort of recognizing that and also kind of investing in their satisfaction and their happiness as their employees as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll speak to two things that you mentioned. Like one is the ability to travel. A lot of our staff have visas to travel to the U.S. So it's real exciting for us when we get to deploy people. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2 hour flight, 3 hour flight, for these guys to join a meeting to kind of like continue that rapport that they've built with their prospect that they talk to. And
Hmm.
then to speak to the kind of the culture piece of it, we've always wanted to retain a little bit of that at Tendril with our staff resources. So every week, 3 times a week, we're going to have a morning stand up. Where we're going to celebrate the wins from the day before. We're going to have some contests. I like to see the whites of their eyes, make sure they're online, they're awake, they're ready to face the day and deliver great results for our clients. And so that's kind of part of the value add that Chris mentioned that we have here at Tendril, that maybe is a little different than other staffing or nearshore companies, but it's something that was really important to us to keep that culture going. Okay, Hector, why don't we pivot to the last question, question number 5. All right, long-term Tendril partnership. Marketplace.city has been a Tendril customer for over 4 years. What made you stick with Tendril over time, and how has the way you work with the team changed as your needs have evolved?
Well, I could say at a high level, just providing sort of consistent service and being responsive to our needs. As Jon mentioned, that Tendril has the ability to kind of customize the relationship and to morph the relationship to, based on, the specific needs. And I think on multiple occasions, we've sort of come and said, hey, this is what we're working on. How can you help us? And whether it is going and finding, new types of data or cleaning data or using the tool in a different way, integrating with like a piece of software that we use or something like that, providing like reporting out of the tool that's, trying to help us hit a metric or track a metric that we're focused on, or just provide, a level of service to a different part of our team. We've leveraged Tendril for not just our sales team, but marketing, engineering, and now we're actually evaluating it for customer success. And so I think, being able to morph and support us in different ways as we've grown over time has been great.
Mhm.
And then just the longevity of the employees with Tendril as well has been very helpful. Like there are folks that we've had through Tendril that have been with us for our entire relationship for almost 5 years. The fact that Jon and his partners are also involved in the day-to-day is fantastic as well. Just to know that we have executive level support and that sort of buy-in to help us kind of get things done. So
Mhm.
I think that's what gains trust over a long period of time, and why I've done plenty of third-party contractors and outsourcing, nearshore, offshore, international, in every continent you can imagine. And Tendril, I think, it provides a service that's far and away what I've ever experienced before. So I think really is not a peer in this space.
Mhm. Well, thank you for your kind words, Chris. That makes me feel great to hear that. Obviously, we've enjoyed your partnership over the years, and I think I mentioned at the beginning of the call, this is my favorite type of customer relationship where maybe you come to us for one thing, maybe some data, maybe a dialer, and then we start to build a custom solution for you to meet your go-to-market needs. Um, and kind of a teaser for our next webinar. It reminds me of another one of our customers called Formative. CEO Carl Allen decided to join the webinar, so I appreciate your tuning in, Carl. But Carl has a similar story where he started with us. We tried a couple of different tools and then ultimately started to build out the tech support so he could deliver a higher quality level of service to his customers and inform his customers. So more on that in the next webinar. I think Hector is in like a month and a half, maybe 30 days.
Yeah, about a month. Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, I think we're about out of time, so I want to really um, mention how much I appreciate your time, Chris, and appreciate your partnership and you choosing Tendril for your needs here. Thanks so much. Good luck with everything in the future, and thanks everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. I think that was pretty good, right? After jumped off.
Yeah.
God, I wanted to like get Carl like engaged a little
I
bit.
know. Why is
Put
he
him on
not
the spot.
talking?
I don't know. He's probably like multitasking. He's probably on another call at the same time.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
no, I thought that was good. We'll chop that into a bunch of little sound bites.
Cool.
You guys ever do something like this, like internally with you?
We haven't done it for a while.
Mm,
Yeah, with for the same reason, it's like you put all this effort out and then like people not actually showing up for the live event,
hmm
So yeah, I think we've started just kind of recording little explainers and stuff like that. And like